Here it is, the Haygears Ultracraft Reflex RS. A printer Haygears have made bigger, faster and cheaper, all in the hope they will take 2024's best resin printer and make it available to more people than ever. The question is, did they manage it? Hi, I'm James. Just 4 months ago I tested the first hobby printer from Haygears, the incredible Ultracraft Reflex. As of recording, over 185,000 people have watched that video, and if one thing was certain, it's that the audience was pretty divided, and they were definitely not a fan of the closed ecosystem or the price. I've got good news about both those things, kinda. Since making that video though, lots of other creators in this space have come out and backed that printer. Some much more strongly than me, including Fohammer, who rated it 2024's best resin printer. I agree. If you're looking for a printer that is drag, drop, print, there just isn't anything else on the market right now. So when the team at Haygears reached out to me with a new printer, a printer they promised would be bigger, faster, cheaper, but still retain all the ease of printing and incredible print quality of the Reflex, it's fair to say I was a little bit excited, but also a little bit nervous. Those are some big claims after all. So I'm going to share more on the printer as we go, but first I want to preface this by saying this isn't really a review video. I'm testing pre-release stock, so not all the features will remain the same. And in some cases that's a good thing. Think of this as an introduction with a full review to follow. Oh, and as ever, I was not paid anything to make this video. Any money I do make will be from YouTube ads or by people clicking on the links down in the description. Haygears did not pay me to make this video. Enough about that though. Let's run through the basics. Haygears have kept the industrial design, albeit a bit softened with a few extra curves, and I'm a big fan of the yellow and grey colourway too. The lid is the same up and over design that you see on the Reflex, complete with the same lip that makes tilting more ergonomic. And as before, it stays put wherever you leave it. On the back of the printer, and a data port, and an airline port meant for use with the PRM, pulse release module, that I've covered in a previous video. On the sides are the power switch, USB port, and a micro SD expansion, which is for memory expansion for the printer. And on the front is a gorgeous, high-resolution touchscreen. The touchscreen is as good as any menu screen I've ever seen. It's responsive, well laid out, and for the bits that actually matter, like how long until it finishes and how do I clean the vat, Haygears have displayed all the right information in a visually appealing way and kept the settings in a logical place. Like I say, it's a screen, but it's a good one. Because Haygears operate in a closed ecosystem, don't rage quit just yet. There's more coming on that. You do kind of need to talk about the software that underpins it. The good news here is it's Blueprint, which is excellent, and I talk about in way more detail in this video, so I'm not going to talk about too much here. Lift up the lid, and inside you'll find a 10.3-inch 8K screen, which is 222.3 by 122.5 millimeters, or 29.7 microns pixel size. And you can see the evidence of that in some of the prints it chucks out. On top of that screen sits a vat with an all-new design that ships with an NFEP release film and holds 900ml resin, which keeps the easy clean rounded corners and the simple autofill design too. It is worth noting that the RS doesn't have an inbuilt heater, unless that is you buy the pulse release vat, and if you don't know what that is, check out my other video on that system, but that costs another $650. Hello, Future James here. Quick update on that situation. The heated vat will be available separately and is going to cost $200. That being said, I've said before on this channel that the best combination of printers are those that don't ship with inbuilt heaters and give you the option to add it on if you need it. If you run a print farm with a climate controlled environment, you don't need an inbuilt heater, for example. However, I do have a pulse release system, so I'm going to be using in this video, which means I can quickly whiz over the heater while I'm here. The heating element for this printer is in the vat, which is really cool. It heats up nicely, and because the vat has a mix function, pre-print, the heat is distributed evenly, as you can see with all the thermal images. I captured these on a sweet little accessory for my iPhone, by the way. The plate is probably the biggest change to the printer that you can see when you look inside. The absolutely gorgeous plate from the Reflex is gone, probably to save a little bit of money, and it's replaced with a more traditional flat design. The plate itself is made from high-grade stainless steel, unlike the cheaper aluminium versions you see from other brands, and it's held in place by a solid metal catch that has a rocking mechanism, which I like. Access from the back of the printer is a slot which induced probably the most amount of hate from my previous video, because it's the slot in which the proprietary resin sits. Yes, I know, proprietary resin, bear with me, I've got a solution for that. The Resin autofill system basically remains unchanged from the Reflex, which is great because it's the best one on the market right now. There's no silly pumps, no pipes to clean out, just a simple pin which pokes up a spring-loaded ball valve and releases resin into the tank. But let's be honest, the big thing you're waiting for is the price. And I will talk about the price in just a second, I promise, but I just want to talk about what has been sacrificed to get there first. I loved using the Reflex. Everything about it just felt and looked premium. Honestly, it's just so lovely in a way that I can't really convey on video. It's not, as many of you said in my previous video, completely overpriced, but there's no getting away from the fact that it costs over $1,400, which feels mental until you get to use one. So, the RS. It retains its excellent ball screw as well as the suite of sensors that sit underneath the screen, so it keeps its print accuracy, but it's still a bit noisier than some of its lead screw fitted rivals. The high quality materials you see in the more industrial shell of the Reflex are gone. They're replaced with cheaper, hard plastics, which frankly feel nasty, but I'm just being snobby because they make no difference to the usability. In fact, when it's on your shelf, you won't even notice it. The biggest difference most users will see there is the plate. Gone is the incredible drilled metal plate and catch mechanism, which not only looked and felt amazing, but was a dream to clean and fitted into the wash station. And in its place is a good looking but flat plate that's much harder to clean, drips resin and doesn't quite fit in the wash station. But there is an all new metal catch, so there's that. So alright, I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. So what was that plate and all those fancy materials worth? Well, it turns out just over $600. And for anyone doing mental arithmetic in their head, that means the new Reflex RS is going to go on pre-sale for $799. Out of pre-sale, it'll cost $999. I'm just gonna let that sink in for a minute. Okay, let's talk about it. So now you have all the basic information. If you're still chomping at the bit to buy it, there's links in the description below. The links will also give you some freebies, which is cool, and they give me a little bit of cash for each sale, which I appreciate. Thank you. That price. Yes, it's cheaper than the Reflex. Over $400 cheaper. $600 if you buy it on pre-sale. But it's still $1,000 or $800 on pre-sale. And at that price, you could have 3 Anycubic M5Ss, or Saturn 4 Ultras, or a GK3, which has very similar features, an inbuilt heater, and is twice the build volume. Nearly. So why would you buy it? Well, the answer is simple. Simplicity. I'm not going to pretend this printer is for everybody. In fact, it's absolutely not. Whether you think it's worth it or not is entirely up to you. But much like an iPhone, which coincidentally costs around the same sort of money, the Hey Gears ecosystem is designed to work perfectly. Software, hardware, all talk to each other and work seamlessly together. If you have the budget to spend and want a one-click print option, this is basically the only option available right now other than the original Reflex. And while it's not going to be for most, for some, that will be worth the premium. The other major negative that you will hate is the lock-in to proprietary resins. I asked the team at Hey Gears if they were considering opening this up to others, and while they were initially emphatic in the no, they did later say in the long run, anything is possible. But this video isn't about resins, it's about the printer. And I have good news. If you want to use third-party resins, go for it. Now, at this point, I recommend a deep dive into a channel called Greedy 3D. He has loads of tests of different types of third-party resins used on this machine and the previous Reflex. But because I can't leave it to him, I had to test it for myself. And so I filled the vat with Amira Labs TG7 resin and used the PAP profile, and using the PAP profile printed off this little lot, which, as you can see, came out perfectly. No messing around, literally drag, drop, click, print, as always. So if you want to use third-party resins on your Reflex RS, you can. So as I keep saying, this printer is pre-release version, and I'm not going to dwell on the bugs too much, but I did encounter several in the first weeks of using the machine. I'm pleased to say that in every case, except some of the slip issues, I fed back to the engineers, and within a few days a fix was produced which has completely corrected all the issues for me. So instead of being a negative, I actually see this as a positive. There's an active team behind the scene innovating and improving the machines, as we go, updating the software and the hardware. And in fact, since I've had the machine, there's been 3 upgrades which have seen the reliability and the speed of the machine increase, which is cool. More resins have been added too, and there's been software tweaks to the Blueprint Studio. Frankly, this sort of service just doesn't exist with other brands, and it's another factor that may come into the decision making when you're considering whether the premium of this printer is worth it. I've also discussed the plate with the team, and while I understand the design was chosen to keep costs down, it's really not my favourite. Not least because it doesn't fit in the wash and cure station, but mainly because the plate is a flat design, so resin just sits on top of it, and as soon as you try and move the plate, it drips everywhere, which means you need to scrape it all off. It's really frustrating. And keeping your workspace resin free is basically impossible. Nope, don't like it. But in true Hey Gears fashion, they went away, engineered a solution, and now they've come up with a bracket which enables the printer to be mounted and let the resin drip off. You're welcome. Although in reality, don't thank me, I had very little to do with this. It was all on Hey Gears. So, my conclusions about this printer, and I'm going to keep it simple because this video is already way too long. Basically, it's almost the same quality and usability as the more expensive Reflex machine. And if you were choosing between the 2 printers now, I would have to say that the Reflex RS is a really solid choice. And don't forget, at the moment, is $600 less. And that's a lot of money. But I'd be remiss in not pointing out that for $600 more, you get the security of a tried and tested product that's been on the market for several months and is already rated as the best resin printer available to hobbyists right now, complete with premium materials and a slick workflow. I have both, and I'll be waiting for the final version of the RS to launch before I make my decision. But as you're a grown-up, you can make your own decisions. If you found this video useful and want to stay tuned for the full review of the printer which is coming down the road, or if you want to see my other mad ramblings around this topic, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. If, like me, you just love minis and enjoy painting them, head over to my Discord and join in with all my amazing community over there who are absolute legends. You know who you are. And if you're a legend, then maybe you can consider supporting me on Patreon, where you get exclusive early bird access to tickets to my painting workshops, a huge library of STLs, and the chance to take part in fun painting competitions. And if not, well, thanks for watching this far into the video, and I'll see you next time.